All right, everybody, and welcome back to the Steel City Blitz Steelers Podcast presented by 26shirts.com/Pittsburgh. And the Pittsburgh Steelers opened their 2019 preseason campaign with a thrilling 30-28 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And thank goodness we stopped them on that 2-point conversion, because nobody, and I mean nobody, wanted to see that in overtime. A win is a win. You take it in the preseason. It doesn't matter, and especially to the Pittsburgh Steelers coaching staff, they don't care either. They care about players' health. They care about players' performances, and that's pretty much what we care about too. So joining me to discuss the game are usual suspects. Mr. Ben Anderson and Mr. Chris Nicolau are here on their Saturday afternoon. I'm sure they were morning. I forgot about that. It is morning where these gents are. And I hear a dog, and I must say that
knock it off now.
I see he's yelling at his dog. I am not in the fortress of Steelertude. I'm actually on location in my living room upstairs because I've got some kids here and they're down there. And there's a good chance I'll yell at my dogs a couple of times too. So just in case that happens. But anyway, Chris, the Steelers get the win last night. A lot of very, very positive things. Obviously, some not so positive things. Just your overall general observation of what you saw last night before we get into the specifics.
Yeah, I'll start on offense real quick. I thought all the receivers overview of them, they did well. Run blocking was not great last night from almost anybody. Fred Johnson did a good job, but the run blocking overall from the backups, especially the second and third team. I know that they were shuffling people around. I mean, Fowler was playing guard and what have you, but run blocking was not good. Snell, I'll get into individual performances soon, but the run game wasn't great either. All quarterbacks did well. Arrows up on all of them. The defensive side of the ball, secondary was not the best, especially Justin Lane. Linebackers, I think, overall did pretty well. Special teams was honestly, kicking wise, was very good.
Yeah, I had to note, and I think you made reference to this when we were chatting during the game, that the very first special teams play of the year, there was a penalty, and we all immediately, of course, thought of Danny Smith. Ben, what were your overall observations last night?
I was pleased to see some continuity and displeased to see some situations where the defense in particular let the situation get away from them. But I think that I need to make the point before I go any further that the preseason, again, is about individual evaluation and that coaches not only use a vanilla scheme when they go out there in preseason games, they also purposely put players in bad situations to see how they're going to respond. They want to throw some adversity at them and see how they're going to react to it. So a lot of the time, the offense is successful because the defense was called badly on purpose, just to see how those guys are going to react to it. Just to see, hey, you're exposed. Let's see how you're going to react. Let's see who rises to the top here and who doesn't. And that's what preseason is about. So don't read too much into the fact that there were some situations last night where the defense looked bad. I didn't see a lot of missed tackles. I saw some. Lane did not look good. He obviously is trying to adapt to off-coverage techniques, and he's not adept at those yet. But he's going to have flexibility there. He's going to have to be able to do both, bump and run and do off coverage. So, these are the growing pains that young players go through. But overall, I thought it was a pretty nice performance. I wasn't that impressed with Josh Dobbs last night. I thought he was up and down, but certainly better than the last time we saw him.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? I'm actually gonna start on the defensive side of the ball here. When you brought up Justin Lane and Chris, Lane came from Michigan State. Now, Michigan State under Mark D'Antonio has always had a very good defense. And one of the things that they do with their corners, and we saw this with other guys coming out in the draft, Denard comes to mind, they play their corners. Basically, they say, here, go stick on this guy and don't let him catch a ball. And so when you come into the NFL, you've got to be more diverse. You've got to be able to do different things. And it was clear to me, and I'll let you explain it even further, it looked like Lane was just really, really uncomfortable last night playing off. Is that what you sensed as well?
Yeah, I think, his first professional game, he didn't want to give up a big play. He didn't want to get burned. He didn't want to do that on national television on his first game. And you can sense that because he was almost in like bail. And bail means you turn your hips and you run with your eyes to the quarterback. It looked like he was just way off. Just did not want to get burned. And his game is press man, get your hands on the guy, direct a route elsewhere, and kind of run with him. He did well running with the receivers deep, though. I liked him there, but he getting played off. You can tell it's not his game. He has to really work on that and adjusting to that because they're going to run those outs all on him all day. Those slant routes as well. So he needs to definitely get comfortable in that area because we do run that, but we do run more man nowadays. But he's going to have to be able to cover off. And also, he's going to have to be able to run up and tackle because he gave up 2 touchdowns yesterday just on missed tackles. That's not good.
No, it's not. I noticed that as well. Ben, anything else on Lane, and then to follow up, other guys in the secondary that you noticed last night?
No, nothing really. I think Chris has pretty much covered it. He's going to have to. I think his issues right now are more mental than they are physical. Yeah. I'm not super concerned about it. These are kinks he's going to have to work out, as I alluded to earlier. Other guys in the secondary, Marcus Allen is slower. Sorry, Penn State fans. He was not he wasn't a great athlete to begin with, and his change of direction has always been poor. He added weight this offseason so that he could play linebacker. He looks even slower. He was exposed in coverage last night several times. Cam Kelly, conversely, was a pleasant surprise at free safety. He looks like he could be the guy who backs up Sean Davis, and that pleases me. I want to see him succeed, so I'm trying not to read too much into one preseason game. But he looked nice last night. Jordan Dangerfield looked a little better than he has previously, but I still consider him a box safety only. Other corners, Cam Sutton had a really nice game. I got to give him props. He did, and we've been critical of him, especially his lack of physicality. Previously, he's not a real physical guy, but he looked better last night. So that pleases me. Obviously, we need solid players out there. Curiously, Brian Allen did not get any snaps. I didn't see him out there. Did you guys?
I didn't. And I didn't hear. I mean, a lot of us were just disappointed because Deontay Johnson, wide receiver, wasn't dressing. But I don't remember hearing anything about Brian Allen.
Allen tested his injury, I think it's his ankle, before the game and dressed, but then they didn't play him. So it's probably just them taking it easy, trying to make sure he gets healthy. I don't know.
Sutton did play better, and I look at that as maybe it's a situation where a guy, maybe things are clicking now in his third season, and that's certainly you have to hope for it because this secondary definitely needs a guy like that can play and play well when he's needed to. Chris, who did you have as far as your defensive winners last night from the performance?
Yeah, Devin Bush, 10 total tackles, 7 solo. He almost had that pick, and talking about the game, he said that he should have had it. You like to see him around the ball. He was a little bit lax in coverage. He also noted that himself that he needs to get better in that area. Like to see what we saw from him. We never saw that from John Bostic or any of the other Band-Aids that
Right.
Colbert was trying to put over the bullet hole. But I thought Isaiah Buggs did a really good job yesterday. It was tough to really see what he was doing, but he did some things where he was redirecting and he was kind of getting in the backfield a little bit. But another guy, Cam Sutton is, of course, and Kim Kelly.
Right.
I like them. Robert Spillane had a good game. Not putting him on linebackers would be a good job, but sorry, not putting him on wide receivers would be a good job. But I think he did a pretty good job filling in run gaps and being pretty decent in coverage. So I liked what I saw from him as well.
Ben, I sensed a little consternation about Mr. Buggs. What did you see?
He
Shut up, Buggs.
He allowed a fourth down conversion at one point that they ran right at him, and the running back got 5 yards, and he needed, he needed 2 feet and got it. That bothered me. So I thought he was a bit up and down. But Buggs, he's got some potential. Yeah. I think he's got a good shot at making this team. I don't want to say that he doesn't. Levon Hooks looked pretty good last night again, but he seems to look good every preseason and not make the roster. So
I'll tell you what, there seems to be a growing is it a fan affection for this Mondu guy?
Mondo only pawn in Game of Life.
One of the great lines in the history of cinematic. But he I watched him a little bit. I mean, he's okay. And again, you got to keep in mind he's in there against third, fourth string guys. But my goodness, wouldn't he be fun to have out there? Holy cow! But
sorry, I got one more guy. I didn't scroll
Anthony
down
Chickalo?
on my page. No.
Oh, God.
Ulysses Gilbert. Dude,
he had an awesome game. And granted, he played late, but man, he was like a man among boys. He played fantastically, but again, he played very late, so he's playing against third and fourth team guys.
Yeah, he was awesome in coverage. He got that pick. Great read. He had 2 sacks. One was a strip sack. He should have had a third, with the quarterback got the ball out of the way. Him up to the A gap was just menacing. I mean, he was throwing guys around. He's too fast for some blockers. He deserves more reps.
He's got a pretty amazing burst, doesn't he? That was really impressive. I got to give him props.
He's got to get more reps with, I think it's like second team going forward.
At least.
The interception was terrific. I mean, not just that he read it.
Yeah, you can't teach that.
You can't. And this is a Mac kid, from Akron, rookie. I mean, he's not supposed to be, quote unquote, making plays just like that. But you guys are right, his burst was really impressive there to get that. Had the presence of mind to immediately get up and start running on a conversion there, where a lot of guys, they don't think there is a conversion for the defense in the NFL. So, yeah, he was very impressive. And again, you put it in perspective and understand what the situations were that he was playing. But yeah, I liked him a lot last night. And then Chris, as far as anything else defensively before we switch over to the offense, and any other notes, I did want you to talk about Ola a little bit because I know he's your guy.
Yeah. Oh man, love my guy Ola. Pressures on pressures on pressures. Just you gotta love what you saw from him from a pass rushing perspective. Against the run, I think we all know that he can do a little work. He can work a little bit on that. Was decent in coverage as well. Like to see that. And special teams absolute demon last night. I mean, he was just Roosevelt Nix-esque on special teams. You like what you saw there? He was on fire. He might have been the second best defensive player yesterday on the field. Who else did I want to kind of go over real quick?
Chickalo, your buddy Chick.
Just not. Nope.
Hey,
Chick. Sorry. Matakevich. He had that strip sack, and then Isaiah Buggs with that great ball awareness to get that fumble recovery. You like to see that from both of them.
I think what's happening, and you guys can laugh at me all you want to, but I really think what's happening with guys like Dirty Red, Matakevich there, he recognizes that this is it. I mean, there are some guys that they've got in there that are pushing him, and I think it's creating better competition, and it's creating guys playing a little bit better because, Chris, you mentioned Spillane. He led the Titans in tackles in the preseason last year and didn't even make the team. The guy is a tackling machine. He's good against the run, but we saw him very, very, very poor against the pass. At least I thought so. But it creates those competitions for these guys that every little thing has to stand out. And I don't think that's something a lot of positions the Steelers have had in recent years. They've really had this. So I think it's great. Personally.
Let me piggyback off that because that's a good point. Pass rushers as well. I mean, you got Tuzar Skipper coming in, you got JT Jones coming in, getting pressures and sacks, and the competition at that position is also in flames because you have those guys. You have Ola, Chick's just a side piece. You're going through, and you really have a lot of guys because they drafted Sutton Smith, and he didn't even
dress.
He didn't even play yesterday. Nope. So you have other guys, UDFA's coming in and getting sacks, and you really like what you saw from the pass rushers yesterday. Especially the unknown guys where you're just like, who? You gotta look up these numbers. You look up the number. Who are these guys? But get in the backfield. You like to see that.
Yeah, absolutely, and a lot of good things, a lot of things to work on. And before we get over to the offensive side of the ball, let me just mention that it is the Steel City Blitz Steelers Podcast presented by 26shirts.com/Pittsburgh. And right now you can get the Patagonia shirt. It is a takeoff the famous shirts that all the cool kids are wearing these days. And
it's a climbing shirt, I think, actually.
It's a what?
It's really popular in Vegas. It's outdoor clothing. It's actually very popular with the climbing community, which
yes, absolutely, yes,
smallly a part of.
Yes, I think we can all expect Chris to be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in the near future, or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, Ben, let's get to the quarterbacks because I we had some fun watching these guys last night. Josh Dobbs, of course, started. Mason Rudolph relieved him, and then Devlin Duck Hodges relieved him. And there were a lot of pretty good things, some not so good, but overall some pretty good things. What did you see from the quarterbacks last night?
Dobbs was up and down. I thought he had a couple of nice throws. Even that one long throw down the left sideline, down the left numbers to James Washington, it was a bit underthrown. If he had hit him in stride, that would have been 6.
Yep.
Without question. Washington had to slow down, come back, and high point the ball, which was great. I appreciated the fact that not only did he slow down enough to catch it, he also did so in a manner where he had to go up high to get it, which made it more difficult for the corner to contest. It was smart play,
Definitely.
And it's nice seeing Washington play like that. He ran better routes last night. His breaks were crisp. It was nice. It was good seeing. But getting back to the quarterbacks, Rudolph outplayed Dobbs, in my opinion. He still needs to work on his arm strength a little bit. Again, my opinion, but this is something we've been talking about since he was drafted, and it's probably why he was a third rounder that day instead of being a first rounder. He does a lot of things very well, but he doesn't have that arm strength that you like to see in an NFL quarterback. But yeah, he did really nice. Anticipated the throws well, excuse me. Pocket presence was fantastic. Yes. I thought he did a good job. Had command of the offense. And then Hodges, he had that one duck throw. Yeah, that was pretty bad. I thought overall though, he was not only fun to watch, he loves to watch football, but he had command of the offense. He had command of the huddle. And he threw the ball pretty darn well. I was pretty impressed for a fourth string camp arm. He looked pretty okay.
I liked Hodges. I liked him before, and my dogs decided to start yelling, "Shut up!" But I think he's going to be an interesting guy going through the rest of camp here. Chris, your thoughts on Dobbs and Rudolph?
Yeah, just going to echo what Ben said. Rudolph was very good yesterday, a little bit better than Dobbs. And what I really liked about Rudolph was he really had no room in the pocket sometimes and was still making good throws. His pocket presence was very good. His awareness, he wasn't getting stressed out in the pocket, which caused him to make better throws. Like what I saw there, you can see he has more chemistry with some of the guys there. You like to see that. Dobbs, his only leg up on Rudolph at this point is his legs, and do we really need that at this point? I don't. In this offense, I don't think so.
Well, keeping in mind too that he was not playing behind the starting offensive line, I would hope that he's not going to need his legs that often if he is, God forbid, behind the starting offensive line. Ben?
Yeah, I don't think that – I think in the short area that Rudolph's quickness is actually very good. It's a lot better. It's a lot better than adequate. I think in the short area it's, it's pretty good. Now, I don't want to see Rudolph run. I don't want to see him as a ball carrier, but I don't really want to see any quarterback as a ball carrier. And it's not like Ben is any threat to run anymore. So I'm not super worried about it. I agree with what Chris just said. In this offense, does that really have any value? Not so much.
Well, Rudolph there was one play last night where I thought he was dead. And he escaped to his left, and then I thought he was dead again. The blocker was kind of impeding my vision of the defender, and I thought, oh, geez, the defender's going to dive, and he's going to, ankle tackle Rudolph, and Rudolph eluded it, and I was impressed with that because when I was watching him coming out of Oklahoma State, I don't know that he would have been able to do that. He just didn't have that overall presence and ability to me at that point. So I give the kid credit. I think he's definitely put in. In fact, I know he's put in a tremendous amount of time to better himself. And, Ben, you were talking about his arm, that sideline throw in the NFL, that long throw, the sideline out is such an important throw. And that was the one I was worried about him being able to do. And just because of that lack of arm strength. So, but that said, I was pretty impressed with him, and Dobbs had some moments, but I still see some of those same Dobbs issues. He had that one really good throw across the middle, but it was still a little bit behind. And that was something we saw coming out of college. He just didn't lead his receivers very well. So I'm curious, Chris, do you think Rudolph gets the start this coming week against Kansas City?
It should be Devlin Hodges. God damn it, no. Yeah, I think he does. I think Tomlin's going to downplay it as rotating, but I think that Rudolph has definitely earned it. Devlin Hodges, man, it's my guy.
Who does he remind you guys of? Because as I watched him. Not only, well, okay. He's
bigger than Flutie, but
yes, he is.
He plays the game with the same kind of enthusiasm. You know what I mean?
Yes,
that Flutie had.
Maybe that. Yeah.
That's why he reminds me of him. It's his spirit. It's not so much his style of play or his size.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good comparison. Yeah, he struck me as a guy for a fourth string guy. He was confident and he controlled the offense. And a lot of times you see those guys come out there and it's one delay a game penalty after another. The cadence gets messed up. I mean, it's just bad things. But I was impressed.
They're thinking too much, and he just went out and played.
Yeah, sure. I thought Matt Ryan. I think they were a little bit more similar. Him and Matt Ryan have similar qualities,
similar style of play. I would agree.
Yeah, okay.
Style of play.
Chris, the offensive line last night, obviously we didn't see really the only starter that we saw was Matt Filer, and they had him playing in at guard. I mean, what did you see? I know you already commented the run blocking wasn't all that great last night.
Terrible.
What I mean, get a little more specific.
Let me go over some. Yeah. Fred Johnson, the guy at Florida, he had a day.
He did. He was impressive. I got to give you props. You called this a couple days ago. You're right. He looks good.
Yeah, and I have to issue an apology. I kept calling him Fred Jackson. Apparently, I kept thinking of the former Bills running back, but it's Fred Johnson. Yeah, Fred Johnson. Anyway, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, Fred Johnson had a great game. Glowing reports from training camp definitely carried over into this game. You like what we saw out of him. Zach Banner had a pretty good game as well. He's definitely on the up and up over Hawkins at this point.
The only thing that Banner has going against him, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but he only plays one position.
Yeah, very true.
Right tackle only.
Yeah. It's do you keep the better player at this point? I mean, Hawkins' injuries and Banner lost all that weight. I mean, he was like, what, 4 something? Now he's at 320.
Yes.
He looks a lot better. He uses his length to his advantage. He's still strong. Like what you see there, he hasn't quit. I mean, he was on the Browns for a little stint. He got cut on the practice squad with us, and now he's just taking advantage of opportunity. You'd like to see that from him. Vinny had a pretty good game. He's just not a center. If I'm going to be just frank with it and up front, I mean, I don't think he's much of a center.
Which is weird because he was a center in college.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. He's way better on the move. You know, moving his hips and using it to his advantage. He's in a phone booth when you're at the center position, and that's just not his game at this point in his career. They might want to kind of experiment with other players at that position, and maybe even Fred Johnson can get some center snaps. But Hassenauer had a couple penalties. That's not going to bode well for him.
No. And his run blocking was awful.
Yeah,
he looked more like a long snapper trying to play center.
He was
honestly
awful.
Yeah. And then you have Chooks, who had a very, very bad game. I saw maybe 1 or 2 reps from him that were good, but everything else was like uncomfortable and raw.
Yeah, what the hell?
He's such an athletic guy, and I didn't even see that a lot last night. It was like he was constantly fighting himself in a box. His feet didn't look all that great. He was getting pushed around a little bit, and Noah Spence was a guy that he was going up against a couple of times, and he's no slouch. Don't get me wrong, but I expected more out of Chooks. Ben, what about you? What was your take?
Yeah, no, I completely agreed. I think he was just off last night. He's played much better versus starters than he played last night against second and third team backups. So I think there was something off with him yesterday. I have to consider this an aberration because I've seen him play so much better. 2 guys I do want to talk about that played very late and I thought played well again against third and fourth and maybe second string guys were Patrick Morris and Derwin Gray. Gray doesn't move real well, but man, he looks like he's just going to be a bulldozer as a run blocker. The guards right now look pretty good. The centers last night didn't look so good.
It's fascinating how that works out. I mean, looking at it all on paper, you would have thought that these guards maybe wouldn't have been that solid, but they suddenly look pretty decent. You said Morris, and Morris is a guy out of TCU, wicked athletic guy.
Right.
Just needed a lot of technique stuff. Did you like what you saw out of him last night?
I did, but again, it's late in the game, and it wasn't like it was that impressive. He was just solid playing that role again late in a preseason game. So it's kind of hard to draw off of that and say, he was impressive, like a Fred Johnson was yesterday.
Right. No, very true. Chris, what did you think of the running backs last night? We got a pretty extensive look at Benny Snell. We saw a little bit of Jalen Samuels. We saw some of Terrell Edmonds' brother. What was your overall thoughts on those guys?
Wishy-washy. No one really impressed. I mean, Sam is a good football player. And on his long run, there was a huge hole for him to get through. But he does look faster. He did lose a little bit of weight and gain some speed. He does look faster. But Benny Snell took a while to kind of get going, and they were running him some stretch plays with him. That's just not his game. We can tell. He dropped a pass or 2 in the beginning as well, but caught on after the first half. And I don't know. I don't know about Snell at this point fitting into this offense because we run the zone, and he's more of a power guy, and he's in between the tackles. He's getting you 3+ because he's falling forward every time.
Yeah,
but he against the corner, he got tackled against the corner 101. That should not. That's not what we drafted him to get tackled by a corner. Oh yeah.
Did you see Tomlin's reaction on that play? You could.
No.
There was a great instant replay from behind the Steelers sideline where you could see Snell stretching it out. And the DB tackles him, and Tomlin, isn't known for a whole lot of emotion on the sideline. He jumped up and then kind of, pounded his fist down into the ground. It was really emphatic for him. And I'm wondering if he wasn't thinking the same thing, Chris, like, how do you let this guy tackle you? Or was it more that I was hoping he would cut it up? I don't know what Tomlin was thinking. They don't pay me enough to do that, but it was just a really interesting scene, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, he definitely should have, you're 1-on-1 with a corner as a running back. You should definitely make him miss.
Or at least punish him. If he's going to tackle you, and you've got that much of a size difference, and you're a running back who's known for physicality, if you let him tackle you, punish him.
Right. Make him not want to tackle you.
Yeah. Make him think twice the next time.
Yeah, Ben, what did you think overall of our little cadre of backs last night?
Samuels had a nifty little run, I thought, and it's like Chris said. You knew before that he's a good football player, and it looks like his burst has improved a little bit. That's it. It's impressive to see. Snell, I echo those sentiments. It was a bit up and down. I'd rather see him running in a gap scheme, gap blocking, where he's running between the tackles or at least between the tight ends. Yeah, and just concentrating on that. I expect them to do more gap blocking this year than they did last night, so I'm not going to read too much into that. Mm-hmm. The rest of the guys in there, Trey Edmonds included, I wasn't that impressed with. It was what it was. Yeah. Nothing to write home about.
Yeah. Speaking of nothing to write home about, let's talk about tight ends. Maybe there is something. Ben, what did you see out of this group? Of course, Vance did not play, so Xavier started, didn't do a whole lot. So you had Rader in there, you had Mr. Gentry in there. What were your overall observations?
Only one, really. Kevin Rader outplayed Zach Gentry, even though Gentry did catch that touchdown pass.
He did. It was a nice grab.
Yeah, it was. And he ran the scramble drill just fine. Rudolph got in a little trouble, and was it Hodges? Hodges got in a little trouble and was running around, and all those guys reacted to that the right way, including Gentry. Ran the scramble drill, got open. Nice little pass. So that was fine. But I thought Rader played better overall, in particular as a blocker than Gentry did, and ran decent routes. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be higher on the depth chart right now, on the true depth chart, not the one that's published in Steelers.com, than Zach Gentry is.
Chris, thoughts on tight end from what you saw last night? We didn't see a whole lot of Wood. He was in there late, but it was primarily Mr. Rader and Mr. Gentry.
Yeah, if the Steelers are going to bring back Xavier Grimble after his fumble, I think they can forgive Kevin Rader after a great play by the defender there to get his helmet on the football to let it loose. But piggyback on what you guys said, Rader is a very good blocker. He does have really good hands, but didn't get the opportunity to showcase them. But soft as heck is Gentry at the point of attack for being a blocker. Yeah. Someone's got a live fire under him. Still concerned with that position as well as safety depth, a little more on the tight end side. They're got to be looking for somebody to add to the mix.
I would be stunned if they weren't.
You would hope.
We've said it all off season long.
Yeah, I am prepared to be disappointed on this. I think that they believe that they have enough adequate players at the position to create enough competition to move forward, and they're not going to do anything. And I disagree with that. I think they should sign a tight end. They should have done it months ago, but I don't think they're going to.
I'm leading towards they're not going to either right now. Barring an injury, if everything stands pat, I think you're right. I
agree. I'll tell you why real quick. I think we're going to run a lot of 4-man wide receiver sets, which doesn't require that extra tight end. Whoever let's just say Filer does secure that right tackle spot, you're going to see Chooks there as a eligible tight end in a blocking situation instead of a Grimble or a third tight end. With who we have on the roster right now, you're looking at for wide receiver, you're looking at Juju, Moncrief, Washington, and the fourth guy, it could really be anyone at this point. But there, Johnson. Geez, what am I doing? Johnson. You want those 4 on the field, and it's gonna be tough to defend them and James Conner as a runner and a pass catcher, along with Vance McDonald. I think 4 wide receiver sets this year is going to be one of the things that we're going to see a ton of, as well as 2 running back sets with Samuels and James Conner.
Yeah, and then motioning.
So that need for the tight end, correct? Yeah, so that need for the tight end can get covered up.
And as we get kind of down towards the end here, guys, let's talk about the wide receivers a little bit. Obviously, no Juju and no Moncrief, no Deontay Johnson. So there were some guys at the tail end of the roster, the wide receiver roster that got some pretty significant playing time. Chris, what do you think about Washington? I personally thought he looked like a completely different player than he did last year. But what do you think?
We saw the acrobatic catches last year in preseason, and there was a ton of hype over him after the acrobats that he was putting on. He just looks like he's comfortable. He looks like he is confident. He looks like with the departure of AB that he knows that he has to step up and that he doesn't have the pressure to really take off pressure. I think that you can see it in his play that he just wants to go out there. He wants to run routes and beat the DB, and he wants to catch the ball. It sucks that he didn't get led more with the long pass, but at the same time, great adjustment. You just see all the intangibles that you want to see out of a guy who lost confidence down the stretch last year.
Yeah, and that to me, that's what I saw. I saw a guy that just looked like he was having more fun. I didn't see the bewilderment in his eyes. I just saw a guy out there that knew what he was doing and was enjoying it. Ben, what did you see out of the wide receivers last night? I mean, any of those guys? Johnny Holton made some plays. I mean, what did you see?
Yeah, how about Holton? He really did have one nice long run. He used his blockers well on that. And
he did.
He's very slight of build. I don't think he's got a shot at making this team, but maybe he could develop into an adequate wide receiver at some point. He certainly has the speed to do it. Did Switz get any reps?
He got reps, but I don't
think
he's
maybe.
Yeah, I saw him on a couple of different occasions.
Get any targets?
I don't believe so. No,
yeah,
I don't think he saw it at all.
Weird. Obviously, Johnson, Juju, and Moncrief not playing is a bit disappointing, at least to me. Yeah. Deontay Spencer was not overly impressive as a wide receiver. I thought he did pretty okay as a returner, a punt returner. But it wasn't great. It was pretty okay. It was enough that you were like, if you were on the opposite side, you could see where there would be a threat. You'd be worried. By and large, other than Washington, nothing to write home about.
Yeah. Griffey got some snaps and I can't think of the other young guy either, but I'm with you.
Tevin Jones.
Yeah, well, Griffey.
Jones.
Yeah, Tevin Jones had a couple of
Jones
nice catches.
Nice.
Yeah. Again, he's in an unfortunate situation. He's in a very, very crowded and talented wide receiver room.
Chris, did you want to add something about Spencer?
No, it was Holton. The first kick of the game when he took it out of the end zone. I hope that was out of ambition and not out of anything else other than I'm trying to make this team, because he was deep in the end zone and didn't do much. We were at like the 15. I'm like screaming. I'm like, I hope that it was out of ambition and to do well instead of, this is the smart move. Let's do this.
No, I bet that was just what Danny Smith coached him to do.
Yeah. Oh, it's
okay. I'm only halfway kidding. All right.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, Deontay Spencer, no fair catches. I don't care how close they are. Boom.
Well, and one other thing I wanted to comment on before we wrap it up, I have some real trepidation about this whole Terrell Austin helping Tomlin with his challenges, because that challenge was atrocious.
Man.
You know what that was, though? You know what that was, Mark? Because
is that a timeout?
Brought it up. No, both challenges last night were about seeing how the refs would interpret the play and what the eventual call would be. It wasn't so much about challenging it. It wasn't like either one of those times the head coach thought, yeah, I'm going to win this challenge. They were just like, you know what? This is a good opportunity to test the system, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and I buy that. I do. It's just, unfortunately, with Tomlin's track record, it just doesn't look good.
I get it. And both times, both challenges were lost, and I was like, good, bravo, nice job, ref, nice job.
Yeah.
Fewer dumb challenges this year.
Well, you know what? And one other note on that, I know a lot of people get pissed off about the amount of penalties. Don't forget, the officials, it's their preseason too. They're going to call a lot of penalties because they want to get a lot of this crap settled now so that it's not a problem when the regular season shows up. So one final thought, and I'm going to give you each 30 seconds. And the topic, Chris, is Antonio Brown. Go.
He's a crybaby. I have no sympathy for him. He makes millions and millions of dollars. You can put anything on my head and I will go out there and catch balls or not catch balls for millions of dollars. I don't care what he does with his life at this point. Give me the 3 and the 5. Give me Devin Bush. I don't want that toxicity anymore. Give me Deontay Johnson. Give me James Washington. Juju's elite. Game over.
Game over. Ben,
I only have one thing to say about this entire episode. True to form. True to form. This is not surprising in the least. Nope. This is something that AB did every once in a while when he was in Pittsburgh. And a few days later, he would come to his senses and act like nothing had happened at all. That's what I expect to happen this time. It is what it is. Not surprising.
Yeah, and guys, and you know this, the Steelers did an amazing job of keeping a lot of this quiet. And it sounds like the Raiders are not going to keep it as quiet, or just don't know how to keep it as quiet. Bottom line is, I hope AB gets straightened around and plays football, but he's not going to get a lot of sympathy from Steelers fans. I know that, and I'll just leave it at that for today. So,
and Ben's not the toxic one. Can we just say that Ben is not the toxic one? Apparently,
apparently not. Apparently not. But we'll pick up on that later this week as we preview the Steelers and the Chiefs. This will be another home game, and then the Steelers round up the preseason with 2 away games. So, anyway, for both Chris and Ben, this is Steel Dad. And make sure you check out the website, steelcityblitz.com, and social media and blah, 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 and all that other stuff. So anyway, Steelers get a victory, and we keep evaluating, and most importantly, we stayed healthy. So, all right, everybody, that's it. And, hey, go Steelers.